Hello out there in YouTube land. This is Kyle, or your boy, aka Vulcan Wolverine. Um, Hello everybody going through this non-consensual human experimentation or any kind of tyranny within all the Five Eye countries or other countries by the military-industrial complex or other agencies doing corruption. Um, I'm forgetting everything that I want to say. Before I start the video, as you guys can see, my beard ran away yesterday. It left me a Dear John letter and said, your face is ugly and we don't want to be on it anymore. So I can't find it. I guess it took a train out of town or something like that. But welcome everybody. It's Friday night at 1:00. It's like start 8. Start 8, 1 o'clock a.m. on Saturday morning. I'll probably get this out, probably early Saturday morning. But welcome everybody. Man, I'm like talking like it's a live stream because I miss my live stream privileges so much. Before I started, well, I did want to tell y'all about that. I was kind of mad at myself because the China consulate story about the China consulate workers being attacked and them coming out with their testimonies in 60 Minutes doing a report on that. It's such an important story. And I know that I got that information out, but it sort of became like, oh, my live stream got shut down. So I was a little bit mad about that, and I felt like, I still feel very suspicious about what happened. But I'm going to move on. I just wanted to give y'all an update. So this is still the can't think of words at all. My live streaming capability is still revoked. I was going to do a live stream tonight, like if it came back, and I've contacted YouTube. So I guess I won't show that email, but I've contacted YouTube. A lot of people are saying, Kyle, just do another channel and do your live streams on that channel. But the deal with that is, I know I have a lot of subscribers and a lot of target individuals that watch my information, but it's still a pretty small channel, and I still want it to grow so the information can be catapulted out there. It can be this one channel growing. And I feel like if I make a second channel, people will be like, oh, well, I'll just go check things out on that channel. I'd probably start putting everything on both channels, and so I really want to just get this channel back up and running and just do it from this one channel. But I did think about that. I did think about just starting another channel so I could do live streams from there. I don't think it'll be a hard fix. I hope it won't. But it's kind of cool, I guess, in a way. I was going to do a video just like this tonight, without the live stream. I still need to go through 2 parts of the Havana Syndrome Articles, and I think I'm going to go ahead and go through both of them on this video. I wanted to space them out and do, so the videos wouldn't be so long, but I kind of just need to, when I have energy to do it, go through the information. And you guys can, watch half of it one time and come back and watch the other half if you don't really want to watch the whole thing through. But okay, so letting you guys know about my live stream status. That's the word I was looking for, status, and I could not think of it. Really, it's so frustrating. It felt like I had this huge stick to whack this program with, with the live stream. It's just really cool. And I'll give you, and then my stick got taken away, and then now I'm just keep punching until I get the stick back. I guess that's a horrible metaphor, but it's the only metaphor I could come up with. But it was cool though, because tonight it was about 9. It was about 9:30, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna make a video. But I said in my head, I go, well, the other times I've started a live stream or started making a video, somebody else is doing a live stream, so I'm glad I checked, and Nex was doing a live stream with Paula, 2 of my favorite TIs in the world. They're just both really awesome. Like, Nex is just such a powerful guy. Like he's doing he's a good example of what we should all be doing. You know, do something. He's using his talents and his creativity, and he's getting the information out. Awesome live streams. He adds, you know, a lot of flair to it, which I think is awesome. He had me laughing because he'll push a button and it'll show a little video like the game NBA Jams where they dunk the ball, and he was like, she's on fire, and it's just had me laughing in a good way, and just really what's the word, really involved in the live stream. So I went to that live stream and it was just great. Next, you did a great job, and I want to show you guys. So go to his channel. Go to next level, NEXX space level, and show your support. You know, subscribe to his channel, like it, and hit the notification bell so you can know when he's doing live streams and stuff like that. And I'm definitely gonna be. I think he said he was coming to Louisiana, so I'm gonna talk to him, and we may get to visit. And I'm definitely gonna, you know, ask him if I can come on and onto one of his podcasts because I want to support what he's doing. It was just great. It was a really, really good experience. I think it got a lot of people's minds off of you know, their targeting. And Paula is just a powerhouse. You know, both of these guys, like Nex and Paula, you see what they're doing, and you see how they act, and you see their strength, and they're targeted, so they're in pain. But I look at them and I'm like, they've got God behind them. You know, because they're using their talents and what's special about them, and it comes out in this huge way and helps a lot of people. And I'm just like, man, they've got God behind them. And so just go check out his channel. You know, subscribe, give him some love, give him some support. He's doing a great job. And it's like, I mean, you know, I have my parents helping me in Social Security and all that stuff, and I don't think he has all that support. So he has some T-shirts and I think a GoFundMe. If you are a TI with a little bit of extra money, you know, you have a little bit of extra means, please think about supporting him because he's really working hard for all of us. You know, he's working to help himself get out of this program, but he really cares about everybody that's going through this, and he's doing something. He's doing something, the most important thing. So I just think he's a great example of just a human being. Not even like a great example of a targeted individual, just a great example of a human being. And it was an awesome podcast. So go check that out, guys. And he got like 28 likes on a podcast and 244 views. So he's like he's really growing, and people are really getting engaged. That was another word that I wanted to use that I completely forgot. People are really getting engaged with the podcast and stuff. And it's showing me, I mean, I saw that with Techno Crime Fighters Forum where it keeps people more engaged and able to focus on the information if it's done in like a round table or an interview thing, you know. So, you know, energy, if my energy levels kind of, yeah, I'm going to try and do some more stuff to get my energy levels up and reduce some of this pain and stuff, but I really want to get involved in a lot of that. Definitely when I get my live stream back, you know, I'm going to have a lot of these guys who are doing live streams and interviews and stuff come on my channel and other people, you know, whatever my energy levels, you know, will allow. But it's just great, just really great. It's almost like I'm seeing a lot of new things. Like I'm seeing a lot of targeted individuals really stepping it up. And you know, even beyond that, I'm getting this feeling, like a feeling in my spirit, like this is an exponential shot up. Like it's like things kind of were like, oh, going really good, people knowing about this, and it kind of leveled off a little bit, and now we're hitting this, we're like in this where it's shooting up, like an exponential increase in awareness and getting this information out, and people coming out in droves, giving their testimonies. I don't know if this term is correct, but like, you know, the Renaissance. It's like a Renaissance for this, for fighting this Holocaust, you know, and what's happening to us. So go check him out, guys. And then, so I'm going to go ahead and get started and get through this information. This was a video, and I'm sure I can show this because it was on YouTube, and it's from the Today Show. It's the mother of the China consulate worker who actually flew out to China, you know, to help her daughter, and ended up being hit too. And then they both witnessed the dogs being attacked and everything like that. And so this is an interview with her. Um, guys, the new, like, I was thinking, I was like, man, the Cuban embassy attacks and the China consulate attacks, people are going to forget about that and they're going to disappear from mainstream media. I was completely wrong. This looks like, and me and who were talking about this. I think me and Corey were talking about it. And also check out his channel, Corey Sharp. It's Corey space Sharp. Check out his YouTube channel and check out his pod. They did him and Brock from the Badger Report did a live stream, so check that out too. Really smart guy. I have to say Corey wins the prize for keeping Kyle on the phone for the longest amount of time that Kyle's ever been on the phone. 5.5 hours, and I wasn't even looking at the time. Like, our conversation, like, he's so smart about this stuff. His situation's very familiar to mine. So a lot of the stuff he was saying, I was like, oh my God, exactly when I started getting hit, I was thinking that stuff. But just an awesome guy. And then my train of thought completely derailed. But check out those live streams at the Badger Report. No, we were saying how we were like talking about the Cuban embassy attacks and the China consulate attacks, and I think everybody kind of thinks this who's a target individual, like, how did this get out in the mainstream? Like, how? It's a miracle. This is a miracle in many. We've had miracles before to help us out with awareness. This is a huge miracle, guys. This is a crack in the armor where I'm like, fire at will, fire at will, fire at will. I mean, this is huge. I'm a little bit confused. This is not a criticism. A lot of targeted individuals are doing videos, live streams, getting the information out there, talking about certain things and corruption going on in society, and it's all needed. But I was like, why aren't we putting this stuff out? Like, why aren't we, and I realized, well, I kind of realized, that 60 Minutes thing on CBS News, if you do just play the thing, you get a copyright. But we need to be, like, no criticism at all, but we need to, if you're a targeted individual and you have a channel, do something with the Cuban embassy attack or the China consulate. Some of these YouTube videos, mirror them. This is like a huge crack. They're saying it's a huge crack in the armor. We gotta fire at will. Because they're saying exactly the high-pitched sinus-like sound, headaches, trouble with vision, their dogs are being attacked, things like that. I mean, this is in the mainstream. This is in the mainstream, so we got to hit this hard. And I think a lot of you, you're like, yeah, that's obvious. Yeah, definitely we need to talk about this. Probably on the conference calls, they've been talking about it a lot. I've been to a couple of conference calls lately. I'm trying to get to more. Trying to do more. Like I said, those energy levels, I got to get them up. I'm really having trouble with my memory right now, guys. But I'm just saying, like, some TIs, you might, like, look at a story like this, like the 60-minute story, and you're like, oh, that's awesome. Like, that information's coming out. A lot of people are going to see that. And even though you think maybe that's the correct way to look at it, it's not. You gotta say, like, we gotta say, look at that 60-minute story. They're talking in the mainstream about remote microwave attacks, happening to consulate members and embassy workers. You're like, this is what you should be thinking. How do I catapult that information out? Like, how do I get that information, mirror it, get it out to even more people? Don't sit back and say, like, oh, well, that's some good information that came out. Oh, so people are going to see it now, and don't do anything. That's the time you like, churn it out. We got to churn it out. We got to keep churning it out. And I kind of want to show you guys why that's important. Because look at this news story. This is on today. This is from the mother of one of the China consulate workers who was hit very badly and may still be getting hit, with the remote microwaves. Now, this was from November 20th. This was from November 20th. And look how many views it has. 3,197 views. Does that seem right to you? Like, it does not seem right to me. And as a targeted individual, I'm just suspicious now of a lot of things, and a lot of things being controlled. And I think we have to know that even though this story is coming out in the mainstream, even if it's getting a bunch of views, like I think that 3,197 is more like 20,000 to 100,000. But the problem is that any kind of information on remote microwaves or what happened to these Cuban embassy workers and China consulate members is still deemed a threat to national security. And national security agencies, these private contractors, the DoD, do not want it coming out still. So even though those stories somehow miraculously got out, the Google owned by military agencies in the military industrial complex, YouTube owned by Google, there's going to be algorithms and there's going to be rules. Now they're going to say, like, this story, we can't have this coming out much. Even if it's a mainstream story, there's still going to be a pushback on it. There's going to be a shadow banning, and they're going to try and reduce eyes on it. That number is not right. Like, I would bet my life on it. I would bet my life on it that number is not right. So it's important that when we see that information that's just so mainstream, that we hit on it. If you have a channel, get it out there. All right, enough of my preaching. But you guys know we got to get this information out. I just feel like sometimes we see like a good story or something like that, and we're like, oh, that's good. That's gonna get the information out. Jump on it. Your reaction should be like, how do I get this information further along? How do I get more people to see this information? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play it, guys. And I don't mean to lecture or anything like that, because everybody's doing awesome. People are really stepping it up. It's really inspiring me. Like I told you guys, I was kind of it where I was like, man, I'm so tired. I still really am tired. My memory it's scary. It's almost scary, not because I'm anxious to do a video, but it's like I'm gonna really forget. Like I'm gonna lose what I was about to say, and I'm gonna have to every time like struggle to remember, and that's a really hard thing to deal with. Just like I did just now. I did that just now. Okay, well, let's just get started. I think there was maybe something else I wanted to tell you guys, but if there was, I'll do another video this weekend. Hopefully by the end of the weekend, my live stream capabilities will be up, and I'm gonna go help. Not help. I'm gonna, they're gonna let me come on some other guys that are doing live streams. I'm gonna really be talking with them to go on there, and we can promote each other, build each other up, and just keep that system of really helping each other. And I don't know why. I guess I just had the way that I did things, and I moderated calls. I don't know why I didn't do like interviews and stuff like that. I thought about it, and I moderated calls, so I kind of knew, getting people, people giving their testimonies and stuff like that. But I'm really gonna. I think you get the information out better. I think people can word in that space. They can really digest the information. When it's fun, and this was a great, like, Next did a great job. And it was just fun, and I think it got everybody's minds off of the targeting, and it's it feels good. It feels good to be in a place where everybody's experiencing the same thing and can gain strength from each other. Paula, I love you. You're just such a strong lady. Next, you're awesome. Okay, so let's get started. I hope I wasn't babbling too long. I'm going to go through both the two end parts of that and kind of wrap the Havana Syndrome articles up tonight. But I want to show this first. And remember, this was in November, and then 60 Minutes, just did the whole show on it. Which, go to cbsnews.com, go to the 60 Minutes tab, and then it's going to be in the March 17th, 2019. And I know that it's like, man, I tried to put out the show, and they took down my live stream, like YouTube took down my live stream. But we got to figure out ways like this and other ways, because I feel like if you say, like, if I don't show anything and I'm like, yeah, go check out the cbsnews.com, it's not as effective as like, here it is, you know, you're at my channel, you're watching my channel, here's the information. I feel like that's way more effective, and you probably like, what, 25% of people would go maybe check out the information, 75% would go watch, they'd continue to watch YouTube or whatever, you don't know. So if it's there, they see the information and they can get it. So it's like churning the good information out. We've all got to be churning that good information out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start this, guys.
As of today, 26 American embassy staffers in Cuba, one diplomat in China now are confirmed to have suffered what the U.S. government calls health attacks. Now a mother is speaking out for the very first time in this NBC News exclusive. Last year, Catherine Werner, a U.S. diplomat stationed in China, told her parents she was experiencing strange sounds and sensations in her apartment. Her health was declining rapidly.
Just struggling, and she's just a shell of what she was.
Her mother, Laura Hughes, an Air Force veteran, was so alarmed, she quickly booked a flight to China.
You notice when something's wrong with your children, and there was something very wrong with Catherine.
Laura tried replacing the apartment's air filters and buying imported food. Nothing helped. And then Laura says she started feeling it too.
We heard a very high-pitched sound in Catherine's bedroom, and we heard a very low pulsing sound in the living room. Our heads would pulse. You would feel like you would want to regurgitate. You could become instantly paralyzed, instantaneously fatigued.
Laura has also developed visual problems, including sensitivity to light, which is why she's wearing dark glasses today. It's similar to what U.S. diplomats in Cuba reported feeling, in what the U.S. government now says were targeted health attacks. As mother and daughter struggled, Laura says their dogs also began acting strangely.
They'd be shivering under the bed when we returned to the apartment. They would vomit blood. They didn't want to go back into the apartment after long walks. And they would run down the hallway and stop just where the living room begins and just sit there. And their heads would move simultaneously. We were so scared. We didn't know, what could they possibly be looking at?
After 3 months, Laura, unable to tolerate it any longer, headed back to the U.S. 3 weeks later, the State Department medevaced Catherine out of China.
The doctors diagnosed Catherine with traumatic brain injury. Their findings were the same as they found for the U.S. diplomats from Cuba.
Attorney Mark Zaid represents Catherine and many of the Havana diplomats affected.
There are things that are identified in their MRIs and CAT scans as showing traumatic brain injury that shouldn't be there for people who have never had concussions.
The State Department brought in outside experts. Their findings: the victims appear to suffer from a new type of brain network disorder. Who or what caused it? A mystery.
The United States government is still not sure who or what is responsible for those health attacks,
leaving Laura Hughes and so many others in the dark.
Targeted individuals know what.
Have been
We've been saying what
by
for
the same
years
doctors through the VA hospital in Philadelphia with traumatic brain injury.
In total, 16 Americans posted in China were evacuated after reporting sounds or symptoms. But other than Catherine, the U.S. says none of them are considered confirmed cases.
Some people have suggested that maybe it's all psychosomatic mass hysteria.
Science doesn't lie. These scientists and these doctors...
I'm going to stop it for a second, guys. Why is that like an obligatory thing that every reporter, they have to bring that in? Like, they can't do the interview without saying, are you sure it's like not mass hysteria or something like that? And then the people are like, no, it's definitely, yeah, it hurt, and the animals were reacting to it. It seems like that's obligatory. Is that the way you say that? Obligatory? In every interview that you see about this stuff, they question the mental stability of the people who are experiencing the attacks. Does that feel or sound familiar, targeted individuals? And I mean, these are embassy workers, right? These are the best of the best. The United States government hires them. They go work in other countries. They have to be smart, right? And their sanity is being questioned when, without a doubt, their experiences are happening. And so many of them are experiencing it. So many of them, not just one, but many are experiencing the same exact things, the effects of the weapons, but their sanity is still questioned. And then you can see how easy it is for people to question normal people, just us living out in society who aren't embassy workers. I'm not an embassy worker. You know, I am special. I am special in the eyes of God, in the eyes of my family, the eyes of you guys, as well as you guys are special to me and your families and a lot of people in this world. But you can see they question United States ambassadors. United States ambassadors, they question their sanity. I mean, wow, you know. And I want to show you guys some comments from the 60 Minutes, not not the CBS News, like the whole thing, but the YouTube clip. I want to show you some of those comments about a mainstream news stories where it's confirmed by doctors that something was happening, and I want to show you some of those comments. You're going to be like, whoa, can't believe that. But hold on, let's go ahead and finish this out.
Doctors and specialists have been working very hard and long on us. There is no way you can fake this.
Have they told you or Catherine whether this is permanent damage?
Yes, it looks like it.
The NIH is now studying the syndrome, but Laura is calling on the State Department to do more.
I do not believe that our military or diplomats are safe because this weapon system is creating havoc.
And do you worry that
She only
this
knew.
could happen to other diplomats in other countries?
Like, 'cause they're
That's why I'm here.
like, and I'm not trying to make fun of this woman or anything like that. She's coming and speaking out, but she's like, she's like trying to keep other diplomats safe from experiencing this. I'm just like, if she only knew, it's people, millions around the world who are being hit with this weaponry. And I want to say, like, this is a simplification, and it's not everything. It's not all the reasons that this is being done. But if somebody sees these stories and is like, oh, well, I can understand why they do it to an embassy worker, but you're just a regular person or whatever, the answer to that is, and there are a lot of different circumstances. Some people aren't just for research and development of these weapons. There are whistleblowers and things like that who it's a punitive thing from a tyrannical government. But in my case, it's experimental. Like it was, when I was a kid or a baby, I think when I went to Ochsner, when I was around 12 years old, I think I had an initial implant and then kind of went through different rungs of this. And then 8 years ago, it became overt, high-pitched noise, V2K, and stuff like that. But the deal is, if somebody says, well, I can understand why it would happen to an ambassador or a politician, but why would it happen to you guys? The simple answer to that, and it's not the only angle, is that, well, they use these weapons and calibrate them and experiment and advance them on regular people in society so that they can hit embassy workers. You see? It seems that these attacks, like in China and Cuba, were more likely operational and not experimental. It was like trying to find out what these embassy workers knew. Could be more complicated than that. Like it could actually be one of these intelligence, like Cuban intelligence agency or China intelligence, wanting this to come out in the United States media to hurt their directed energy weapon program or something like that. I don't know. It could be more complicated than that. I think more information is going to come out about this. It's all going to be kind of like, they can't even get to what it is, directed energy weapon systems, neuro weapons. Like we all know that as targeted individuals. And if you look up James G. Adorno, you can like compare 1-to-1 what this is. And so they haven't even gotten to that. So when I say like more information will come out about this, maybe they won't say exactly what did it, like the weaponry that did it, the neuro weapons and directed energy weapons, but maybe the culprit, like which intelligence agency, might come out or something like that. So hopefully.
That is why I'm here.
And Hughes is speaking out, she says, because her daughter and the other diplomats cannot without fear of losing their jobs. Many told NBC they fear the government is downplaying what happened. The State Department says it took quick and decisive action after confirming a case in China and is providing employees with the best medical care back here in the U.S.
Why would they downplay it? Why would the United States government try and downplay this? You know, and that's directly from the victims. That's directly from the survivors of these attacks. They're like, we feel like the United States government is downplaying this, and they're not giving it enough news coverage. They're not letting the public know enough about this stuff. Why would that be happening? Because they consider it, the United States government, and then these agencies, you know, consider it a national security, a national, like a topic of national security. So they are going to try and downplay it. They have their own weapons program. The United States is researching on its own citizens with these weapons. It's going to try and hush this up and move it along. The fact that it has not been able to move it along, and these stories keep coming out, and major networks are reporting on it, is huge. I mean, it's the only thing I can think of is miracle, you know, and it's a crack in that armor. Fire at will, you know what I'm saying? Fire at will. We see the whites of their eyes. This is getting me pumped up, even though I feel sharp pains on my skull right now on each side. It really hurts. So forgive me. I might I might blank out during this video. Let's go ahead and finish it off though. I was gonna say something about what she said. Yeah, okay, so she said the State Department responded with, you know, we're giving these embassy workers the best medical care that they could receive. And that's great. I support that. But where's our medical care? Where is a doctor who's like, oh, you're being hit with these weapons, well, we need to do some scans? Because I went to a neurologist, he told me he didn't know anything about the Cuban embassy attack, and then basically, you know, I really think they lied about my MRIs, because these guys that are getting hit, and I've been hit, you know, hardcore, and I've been hit for like 18 years, but very hardcore and overt for 8 years. I would have some of this, you know, some of those signs, and like, is it that my neurologist didn't know what to look for? He was only looking for certain things, and they have better neurologists that they're going to you know, when they go to the University of Penn State. Are they looking for specific types of damage that a DTI, that a regular neurologist is not going to find? Or was that guy just straight up lying to me? Because I got a CD, I still have a CD of my image, and I need to get off of my patootie and send it to University of Pennsylvania. But it was very weird, and somebody tell me in comments if this is a normal thing. I got the CD there after I had the test. I waited for like an hour, and then they made a copy of the DTI, the DTI MRI, and then like 2 months later, I got an extra disc in the mail, and I haven't really looked into it, and that was a long time ago. I just thought, oh man, they didn't find anything, you know, and I kind of just, you know, went on to other things, but I need to really work on that. You know, some of these and there's other hospitals. There's a different hospital the mother went to get checked up, and they did diagnose her with a brain injury. So I mean, hospitals are seeing this. I don't see why we can't get medical help. I don't see why it's the same way. That's, I mean, well, the world's insane, and that's why that is. But you know, it's like, well, would a doctor say that too? I mean, we got to think about what kind of world. Well, it's better not to think about what kind of world we're living in. But it's like, would a doctor say that? Like, I'd be like, well, these embassy workers got tests. They're getting the best of medical care. They were hurt by remote microwave weapons or whatever, a mystery weapon. I'd say that to the doctor. And what would he say? You think he'd give me the best medical care? So I'm just kind of talking. I'm not trying to be negative, definitely, because this is very positive stuff. We kind of got to ask those questions, and non-target individuals need to ask those questions too. These people are saying the same exact things, like the same exact effects that targeted individuals have been saying for years, and they're getting help. They get to tell their stories. And we have been targeted individuals, normal human beings who have been hit with this stuff, you know, for so long. And I'm not saying that we're not special, so don't think I'm saying that, guys. I'm just saying, you know, we don't have these titles, these government titles, most of us. You know, we're being spit on and called crazy, you know, and it's not just not fair. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't make any logical sense. And you know, I'm going to be positive. These stories coming out and how far this is bringing us, and the people knowing this, it'll change that. It will change that. And we will change that by by getting information out there. Oh wow, guys, like my head feels like there's like pressure on it. My hat's heating up. Okay, all right, guys, I'm gonna. Oh, didn't finish this. Let's let him finish talking about.
You hear from the mother and daughter, and it's so convincing, and then you hear about the pets, and you think to yourself, "Oh my gosh!" So you wonder, like, what is causing this? What kind of weapon could they be using?
They are still investigating, Hoda. The strange sounds initially pointed to a sonic weapon, but an FBI report this year ruled that out. Now, U.S. officials tell NBC News they are considering the possibility of an electromagnetic weapon, which could cause brain damage. Certainly, a lot more reporting got to do on this.
My goodness.
Stay on it when you think about saying it's likely permanent wearing those glasses because the light bothers her.
And the other diplomats in the military out there.
Yeah.
Andrea, thank you.
Good reporting.
Awesome. Okay, guys, I'm going to go to those articles and kind of wrap up the Havana Syndrome articles. I really hope I get my live stream back soon. I didn't realize how much I would miss that. Didn't necessarily take it for granted. Yeah, I didn't necessarily take it for granted, but it's just so much difference. Like doing a live stream, even if it's not like an interview or something with somebody, just having a chat room that's alive and they're talking and participating and stuff like that. It makes it feel a lot better. I can't believe I wasn't doing those since the beginning, but I'll be correcting that mistake. Okay, so. The Havana Syndrome Part 3. Insiders say ordeal has struck a nerve in Canada's diplomatic community. By Taylor Blewett, updated March 11, 2019. I gotta get my face out of the way here. Okay. So, hardship and danger are nothing new for the Canadian Foreign Service. Its members have served through wars, diplomatic crises, and acts of terrorism. But what happened in Havana is different than anything they've seen before. And despite the fact that risk is generally accepted as part of the job, this newspaper interviewed several diplomatic insiders who charged that the mysterious injuries suffered by the Canadian diplomats and their families in Cuba have shaken a community that isn't easily rattled. As Pamela Isfeld, president of the Professional Association of Foreign Service Officers, puts it, Havana Syndrome struck a nerve. In part, she said, that's a huge, you know, they're doing this pun. It struck a nerve, you know. I'm almost like you know, I get there's a lot of cabal signaling, like what Dr. Horton calls cabal signaling. That's a huge weird pun, because these directed energy weapons, these neuro weapons, electromagnetic frequency weapons, they interact with the nervous system. It's tapping into the nervous system. So struck a nerve is it's a very fitting pun, but I'm like, you know, the people who are writing these articles, are they trying to get out more than they really are supposed to, or something like that? I don't know. It's just very, very interesting. In part, she said, this is due to the fact that it remains so mysterious. More than a dozen Canadians, including children, suffered brain and other injuries of unknown origin while on diplomatic posting in Havana. Nobody knows what this is. You don't know how to mitigate it. You don't know how to protect against it. You don't know how to treat people who have it. You don't know where it comes from. So it could really happen to any of us at any time. Bing, 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 bing. Really important statement. People that are like, oh no, this isn't happening. You guys are all mentally ill. Take a look at that statement, and it's very true. So it could really happen to any of us at any time. And that kind of thing definitely has people on edge. I kind of wanted to show some of those comments on the other video. I forgot to. I'll go to that at the end. The association pegs the size of Canada's foreign service at about 1,400 members. Isfeld said her office has received questions from diplomats who might be eligible for a posting in Cuba, asking whether, if asked by their employer, they would have to agree to go. Technically, the answer is yes, Isfeld said. Their conditions of employment require diplomats to serve wherever they are needed, but in practice, Global Affairs Canada isn't forcing anyone to go to a specific location. And since the extent of the injuries suffered in Havana has come to light, has been open to allowing those serving in Cuba to leave, even if they weren't directly affected. Still, said Isfeld, it's something on people's minds. One long-serving diplomat with whom this newspaper spoke on the condition of anonymity for fear of professional reprisal pointed to another factor that makes Havana stand out in the Foreign Service community's collective memory. They cited the 2013 death of Anne-Marie Desloges, a Canadian diplomat in Nairobi who was killed when terrorists attacked a local mall. When Anne-Marie died, that was tragic and shocking, but that's really far out of the norm, and it's one person and one incident, they said. This time you see a pattern. It's another very smart statement, a very smart quote. This time you see a pattern. There's so many people affected, so many children, and they're still around to tell their story. These are the people who have come back and are now working in the cubicle or the office next to you or your friends you were posted with in other countries. So I think it's kind of hit a lot more people closer to home, the diplomat said. So this is Helen Laverdiere. Helena, I guess that's how you say it. Helena Laverdiere. The federal New Democratic Party's foreign affairs critic, and herself a former diplomat, said the Havana injuries are particularly troubling for the Foreign Service community because of the fact that so many dependents were involved, children and animals. When you're abroad, it's your job. You can cope with the long hours, sometimes difficult conditions, but you know you're imposing it on your family also. The diplomat interviewed by this newspaper agreed. What if I had made that decision? Cuba's always been considered a fairly safe place to take your family. Rather than fear, the diplomat suggested the overriding response in the Foreign Service has been disappointment in the government's response to those injured in Havana. A group of 15 people, including 5 diplomats and their families from the Ottawa area, are suing the federal government for $28 million, alleging that it failed in its duty to protect, inform, and support them. Diplomats don't want to sue their employer. We're all super cautious about saying the wrong thing, about posting the wrong tweet, about getting in trouble, so to speak, said the diplomat interviewed for this story. When someone has gone this far, you know it's bad. Yeah, like you know that it's true. You know that if it's an embassy worker who they're very careful not to insult the government when their children are hurt and they've been attacked by this, mysterious, they think it's a mysterious weapon. It is directed energy weapon systems and neuro weapons. That's what this is. When they have to speak out and they have to get medical, and then the government does not support them, it's so serious that $28 million lawsuit. Both Laverdiere, it starts with an L, and Isfeld agreed. More should have been done, and sooner, they said. The government should never have turned down the University of Pennsylvania's offer to treat the injured Canadians, nor left them to travel to the university on their own dime for assessment, the pair say. So it initially turned down the University of Pennsylvania's offer to treat the injured diplomats. Why do you think? Do you think they were going to give? I'd like to see if the Canadian government was even planning on getting them medical treatment or just telling them to shut up about it. Or were they trying to find their own medical facility in Canada that would maybe lie about it? Say it was mass hysteria or something. I guess those are kind of negative things to think, but that's where we're at, Okay, and I think there's a little bit more. I'm going to go to part 4 after this. I'm not sure if this is part of part 4, but I may just read it over. Contacted by this newspaper for comment, Global Affairs Canada provided a written response attributed to spokesman Richard Walker. Canada's foremost concern is the health and safety of our diplomats and their families. Serving Canada is a privilege, but it is also a difficult job. Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland has met with many of the affected diplomats, he said, and they have our unwavering support. In addition, Canada has taken security measures and reduced our diplomatic footprint in Havana. According to Isfeld, Global Affairs Canada has taken some steps in the right direction since the fallout from Havana Syndrome, including the appointment of a task force and a medical officer to help those injured. What happened in Cuba was unprecedented, the diplomat interviewed also acknowledged. Pair that with the seemingly inherent slowness of bureaucracy, and the Canadian government's response is more disheartening than surprising, they said. But they also added that this is an opportunity for improvement based on lessons learned. And at the end of the day, it doesn't make you think, oh well, I'm not going to go to Vietnam because if anything happened, I can't trust the government to have my back. I don't see that happening. It's a mystery. We're not pleased with the way it was necessarily handled, but life goes on and we have a job to do, and we do it, and we hope for the best and support those that weren't so lucky. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Havana Syndrome Part 2, but I do want to jump back over to not the video that I showed at the beginning, but there was this video that I showed on one of my past videos. This video that I showed on one of my past videos. 60 Minutes speaks with survivor of mysterious health attack in China. And I wanted to go down to some of the comments because it might surprise y'all. I mean, it's like people think this is some kind of hoax. You know, they think it's some kind of like the United States making it up so they can have worse relations with these countries. Like check this out. Tom H says, the Chinese wouldn't be stupid enough to target Western diplomats and officials with any kind of newfangled energy weapon. Cuba, I could see them doing it, but not China. I mean, I guess, like, yeah, he knows it's still going on, but he's like, just who's doing it? He's questioning who's actually doing it. Okay, so Lubin number 7 here. Does anybody know what is their intention of making up a story like this? I couldn't never figure out these political tricks. So a lot of people think it's just made up for some kind of political reason. Look at this one. Zhao Zhao says, that's not real. Keep lying. Like, I mean, this is mainstream media. These are diplomats who, you know, have good standing with the United States government. They've been tested by doctors. That's the main part. Like, not any of the how does this look in who they are is important, but for belief of the story, the medical reports. For God's sakes, people, it's not just these people saying this. And this is what we really need to jump on. These people, there are medical reports saying the vestibular systems are damaged for the Cuban embassy workers, for the Cuban Canadian embassy workers, and for the China consulate workers. There's medical damage, there's medical brain injury, there's proof that something was done. And then they're saying, I heard a high-pitched sound in my head, I got nauseous, many symptoms, headaches, and everything like that. And then there's medical from the University of Pennsylvania. So, alright, so I just wanted to show y'all some of those comments. So I guess we don't have to feel as bad as kind of, I'm a normal Joe, targeted individual, you know, and, you know, I don't get as many of those comments anymore. At the beginning, like 6 years ago when I started making videos, I had like 75% of comments saying, you know, you're schizophrenia, you need to go take your medicine. You know, now it's like there's maybe one guy every once in a while who's probably getting paid as a community-placed agent to try and discredit us, but I think they're learning that that's not really working anymore. It's not stopping anything, so I think we're going to see a complete, you know, null factor on that. But you still see it. You see it with a big story like this, where there's tons of proof and there's medical proof and everything like that. You still see the, oh, we don't even believe that's going on. Trust me, take that statement. If it can happen to anybody at any time, it can happen to anybody's family at any time. Take that statement to heart. Anybody who just doesn't want to look at this, who just doesn't want to see it, like, you know, it's a really sick thing and it's a really hard thing, but it's necessary. It's necessary for all humans on Earth to know about this. It's important. This is really important. People are dying. Children are being hit with microwaves and tortured. There's worse stuff going on in the world right now. I'm fighting from this corner. I know there's a lot of people trying to cover like all the corruption in the world. This is an important corner. These directed energy weapons and neuro weapons, you know, and this is just a small, I'll give y'all a small example. You know, Sheriff, I think it's Sheriff Don Clark. I think that's his name. No, not Don Clark. Sheriff Clark. You know, he's a sheriff. I'm not sure what city he's from, but he was talking about, like in an interview with Don Lemon, he was talking about the shooter, the Baton Rouge shooter. There was a shooter in Baton Rouge, Cosmo. I don't remember his last name, but he was a targeted individual. And he was in Texas, then he moved to Baton Rouge, and he shot like 3 police officers. And they were talking about that story, and Sheriff Clark was really disappointed with Black Lives Matters and said that kind of Black Lives Matters was stirring up a lot of hatred against police officers, you know. And maybe that had an effect on some of the police shootings, but the incident, they talked about it. They talked about the shooting that happened in Baton Rouge. It took the lives of 3 police officers that live in my city. And this was not brought into it. So that's one example of these situations that happen where law enforcement, some of them are maybe confused on what's happening, and they're like, oh, well, it's due to this, and these are the problems. If we don't know the root cause of some of these problems, you know, say, well, does this situation, and I'm not talking about just shootings or whatever, I'm talking about any kind of situation where something went wrong, where something happened, and we don't have this main component of these weapons that are in the world being used on kind of random people, being used on, you know, politicians, on Hollywood stars, on normal people in their family, in every country. That's some important information to have when we're dealing with any problem, because that's going to have to be thought of where these weapons, and we need to take that out of the equation. You know, because the top of the pyramid, you know, they're using these weapons to create chaos. They want order out of chaos, which means more money for them. But the normal people in the world never really have order. We just have more chaos and more death. You know, so it's very important. It's important to know that these exist. I forgot where I was going with that, but it's just important to know this is a huge part of the equation of all the craziness in our world, of a lot of situations that are, you know, really, really just like, wow, how did that happen? What's going on here? And without this to put into the equation, or to get out of the equation, to stop using these agencies and these contractors, stop using these weapons, so that maybe there aren't going to be so many crazy incidents out there. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go. I just wanted to show. Maybe I'll show one more comment. Hold on. Oh, somebody left a great comment here. Silence do good. It's do warfare. Yeah, and he's right. So MS Goody Two Shoes sounds like side effects, withdrawal of psych meds or benzos. Maybe she had some on the flight over to China. A lot of people take benzos prior to flying. You see, you're still getting those people, and they just can't comprehend that this exists, and they just don't, and they jump to mental illness or drugs. You know, so I mean that kind of could make you feel a little bit better as a targeted individual, that even embassy workers are you know, it's questioned whether or not it's mental illness, you know. So I don't know, I guess it could make you feel worse, you know, that wow, how are they questioned about this? That's very scary, because what's going on in our society. But then you say, yeah, our society is very corrupt. And when a society gets more tyrannical, people become more compliant and fearful, and they don't want to believe anything's going on. They don't want to look, and it just kind of goes that way. Okay, so let me go to that that other article, and I'll finish up, guys, on those. Or oh, it's on this one. Okay. Oh, my head feels like it's being crushed in. I was doing a lot better when I was listening to Nex's live stream. It was a long live stream, though. I was kind of like, after the live stream, I was like, oh, I don't even know if I want to do a video. I'm kind of tired after that. It's like a good tired, like, you know, I was chatting in the chat room, and I just love that. I love that everybody's just kicking it up a notch, doing what they got to do. Like there's a new Avengers trailer for Infinity War, and it's like, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. It's awesome. And I just see a lot of targeted individuals. They're stepping up. You know, a lot of targeted individuals have been stepping up for a long time, but I'm just seeing this exponential thing, and it's like I see an exponential increase in the information getting out, and people going, okay, yeah, that does exist, and they're jumping in to help. But I feel something even bigger than that coming. I feel, you know, this may be a survival tactic. I don't want to believe that. I want to believe that there's true hope coming up, and I feel that, God's given us miracles. I do want to say, you know, it's not a miracle that these China consulate workers were attacked with this. That's not the miracle, but the miracle that they can speak out in the mainstream media, that is a miracle. And we've had miracles before, so we're seeing it, you know, people that are like, we need miracles from God. I say that all the time. Here is one. So we got to use it to the utmost. And I think we can look forward to some more miraculous stuff, with things that make us feel better, things that defend from this. You know, events happening where maybe because of these events happening, this is a very hopeful thought that I want to have. Maybe because these events are occurring, the contractors are going to have to start pulling back. You know, me and other targeted individuals have said that about other things, but man, it could be getting to a point where they're like, well, I was thinking about that today, and I was like, at one point in time, I was like, you know, the people doing this, they're gonna kind of say at one point, well, we knew it was gonna end, so let's we're gonna experiment and do research and advancement with these weapons, but then it's eventually gonna come out in society, so we're just gonna plan for that. But then I was like, today I was thinking about how egotistical my attackers are. How egotistical these people are at the top. They think they're gods, you know, they think that we're cattle and they're gods. And I'm like, man, and then I see like when these news stories are coming out on YouTube, and it's got 3,000 views from November, and it's like on the Today Show, and it's a really important story. There's no way in hell that had 3,000 views. And I'm like, nope, these psychopaths are gonna, you know, think that they can just silence it all up, and it's going to backfire on them, you know. And I did, before I go into this, I'm sorry, I'm kind of dragging my heels here, but on this one, no, this video, the 60 minutes video about the China health attacks, 50 thumbs up, 30 thumbs down. Why would you thumb down a news story? What are the 30 thumbs down? Are they people that think it's a lie, that think it's fake news or something like that? They're like, oh, this is completely made. What is that? What's the 30 thumbs down when it's information that is true? You know, and I do believe in fake news. I've seen some fake news, but this I can say as a targeted individual, this happened. I don't understand what the 30 thumbs down, or are those people involved with these weapons programs that want to kind of keep this hush-hush, give it thumbs down, so that YouTube algorithms don't put this out into people's recommended? You know? Maybe bots to give it thumbs down on national security issues, even in mainstream news. When it does slip out in mainstream news, have bots that come and dislike those videos, so that those videos aren't shot out into YouTube, YouTube land or whatever. That's a very suspicious like to dislike ratio right there. 50 to 30. I mean, but 4,000 views in a couple of days is not bad, so I don't know, maybe they can't stop the bum rush. And that's what I'm thinking it is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish up this article, guys. Okay, the Havana Syndrome Part 4. Let me get a sip of my drink. Okay, the Havana Syndrome Part 4. Oh, wait. I'm really trying to quit electronic cigarettes. Corey was telling me about like an electronic cigarette that's, you can just get it for like $40 and then you get refills on it. It's a ton cheaper. So I might get something like that and then try and really wean down. Okay, so the Havana Syndrome... Oh, wait. Sorry, guys. Dude, I'm like about to fall over my chair. Like there's so much pressure on each side of my head. Oh, this is crazy. Oh, like this side, this whole like ridge, you know, that ridge is like sore and heated up. And it's like, it feels like my eyes are popping out of my skull. Screw my attackers. Screw those people. Screw them. Okay, Okay, the Havana Syndrome Part 4. What it could be and how experts will try to crack the case. Tom Spears, updated February 28th, 2019. Eric Arts was a university... I didn't even take a drag from this. Hold on. I think ADD is like not even close to what I am, you know. But artificially, you know, through remote neural manipulation and microwaves pounding your skull, I think I have something that's like way, oof, you know. Okay. I'm gonna get through this article, and I can't wait. I really can't wait to get my live stream capability back. So it's killing me, guys. It's killing me. I'm just so glad, though. I'm so glad that before I did my video, I checked to see if anybody was doing a live stream, because I would have done my video while Next was doing the live stream and not caught it live. So I'm kind of glad that happened. And a lot of people are doing stuff, and you know, and you know, get in contact. Next says if you want to do an interview on his podcast, you're a targeted individual and you want to tell your story, or you have some information you want to get out, definitely get in touch with him. So, alright, and a lot of other people, like Kevin Christian, too. Eric Arts was and of course, Romola D, and, you know, Dr. Horton, too. I think I leave those kind of unspoken. They've been doing it for so long, you know. And Ella on her conference call, and there's just so many. I'm gonna miss, you know, I can't say I can't keep up. Those are, you know, I just talk about the targeted individuals who, like, I can keep up with, you know, what they're putting out in their videos, but there's just so much I'm missing, like so many targeted individuals putting out so much information. Okay, so Eric Arts was a university student in the 1980s when the world was struggling to understand the illness we now know as AIDS. And he recalls the sense of bewilderment among those looking for its cause. It's an enigma he compares to the current mystery of Canadian and American diplomats who became sick while serving in Havana and who have suffered from pain, memory loss, dizziness, and brain damage. It's not really like that, because it's not a disease, it's an actual weapon. But some people say that some people say that AIDS was manufactured, but as a disease in the body. Not like a, you know, not a directed energy weapon system. Sorting out HIV and how it was transmitted and the disease it caused took a long time. It wasn't something that happened overnight, said Arts, who is now chair of the microbiology and immunology department at Western University's medical school. It took a major effort just to establish that it was an infection. But then it took a couple of years to find out what the causative agent was, and even that discovery was debated, he said. Art says the hardest but most important step in solving the puzzle of the sick diplomats is getting past the starting point, figuring out what general category this new medical condition fits into, and it doesn't fit into a medical condition, it's a weapon attack. So I don't know if he's just going to be looking at what medical condition it fits into, because then he's lost the plot and he can't figure out what it is. Once the scientists know what ballpark the issue is in, it becomes a matter of narrowing down the precise details. But first they have to take that crucial first step, which has not happened yet. Could it be some kind of virus or bacterium or contaminated drinking water, a planned assault with sound waves? All these and more have been mentioned in a wide-ranging list of possibilities that even includes the sound of crickets chirping. Health scientists, he said, will likely start by looking for patterns. They do contact tracing to see who has been in contact with who and who has had these symptoms, he said. It usually takes an organization like the WHO in an international situation, he said. This has worked for Ebola and other mysterious outbreaks of disease. You need rapid deployment on the ground. Until you find the origin and how it's spreading, there's not a lot you can do if it's an infectious disease. I guess none of this really, because it's not. I mean, that's not what this is. And if, I guess, well, they'll go into sonic attack, which, sonic is on the electromagnetic spectrum. So some of these attacks could be sonic. I mean, it's directed energy. Sound waves are technically directed energy. But most likely it's in the range of microwave from the symptoms that the embassy workers had, and then the testing done, the medical testing, it seems like it's remote microwaves in that range, in that electromagnetic range. And if Cuba were hiding what it knows, as some have alleged, it would make it much more difficult, because this kind of research can't be done from a distance. Here are some of the causes that have been speculated about, offered here in no particular order. Sonic attack, largely because many victims report suddenly hearing a harsh, high-pitched sound. Humans can hear sounds ranging from about 20 waves per second, or hertz, very low sounds, to 20,000 hertz. Above that, sound waves still exist even though we cannot hear them. On the other hand, the effects of sounds too low to hear are also controversial. Some of the opposition to wind turbines in Ontario comes from neighbors of the turbines who believe this infrasound causes health problems. Infrasound has also been suggested in the Havana mystery. Crickets. Yes, crickets. After some of the diplomats reported buzzing and piercing squeals and produced an audio recording of this, a British and Australian team identified the Indies' short-tailed cricket, Anerogryllus celerenictus, as a possible source. They reported last month that the cricket's sound recorded here matched the recording in nuanced detail, in duration, pulse repetition rate, power spectrum, pulse rate stability, and oscillations per pulse. The Jamaican field cricket, which is native to Cuba, has also been blamed. I mean, they're going far out of their way to find some kind of other thing they can throw at people and be like, oh, crickets, the sound they make it's like the same pulse, blah, blah, blah. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Electronic attack. Using a powerful and focused beam of microwave energy that can cause pain or debilitation, microwaves can cause the brain to perceive sound where there is no sound, a phenomenon called the Fry effect that some feel fits with the sound perceived by victims of Havana Syndrome. Some Americans, including U.S. President Donald Trump, have directly accused Cuba of causing an attack of some type, but Cuba has hotly denied this. And that's what it is. It's microwave attack. It's remote microwaves. These are weapon systems that are being tested on innocent civilians in every country, and then they're being used in operational ways to get information or to cause false flags or blah, blah, blah. There's a whole war going on with these directed energy weapons. There's the grid, the ionosphere, which is being doused with chemtrails so that over-the-horizon radar can be used to shoot directed energy weapon, ping it off, and hit people. Then there's a grid underneath that, all the microwave towers and cell towers and then satellite to cell tower, drone to cell tower, microwave tower to the target. So there's a whole lot of people being hit with this shit. The weapons being, advanced, research being done with them. Because they're neuro weapons, and they interact, they assess, like James Giordano says, they access and assess the brain. And then there's tons of other angles and protocols, like in trauma-based behavioral control and things like this. So there's just a whole world of things going on. So people really need to know about this. I guess I'm just saying the obvious there. A chemical spill or other environmental contaminant in air, soil, or water. This could also include contaminants in buildings. A substance called urea formaldehyde foam insulation became popular in Canada in the 1970s, but was banned because it emitted gases that caused headaches, fatigue, a general sick feeling, and irritation of the eyes, nose, and throat. Arts say the Cuban problem suggests an environmental toxin more than an infectious disease, and he said that exposure to such a contaminant can be hard to trace as time goes by because it may break down. With something in the water system, you would need to get samples, test the water, test the soil, test the environment. You just have a very limited window of time when you can do that. Mass hysteria, the term for symptoms that spread by the power of suggestion, which is retarded. It's just retarded. Like, it's retarded. Like, just seeing that like something like this happens, and even with targeted individuals that were being hit before, these embassy workers, where it's considered mental illness or whatever, and they're all the same symptoms and a bunch of people saying it, and then this, like, the main argument against like finding the truth has been it's mass hysteria. It really makes me look at the world and just say, wow. Like, because I know people aren't that stupid. Like, people aren't that stupid. Like, people who live out in the Midwest and normal people who just, are living in communities, they see this stuff and they're like, oh man, there's probably a lot of technology out there and stuff going on that I don't know about. But the mainstream news, like, I guess, wants people to be as stupid as possible. So it presents things like, oh, it could be mass hysteria. And then there's like this social conditioning to like, oh, well, it could be mass hysteria. And people don't even believe it. But it's just mind control. It's not mind control like with electromagnetic frequencies, but it's a social mind control. Well, we're saying it's this, and so you need to talk about it. It's like this, and so people who aren't really dumb enough to even think that it would ever be mass hysteria do discuss if it's mass hysteria, because they feel like, oh, well, that's what society kind of is thinking, is putting out there. Okay. Disease spread human to human. Arts have studied tropical and neotropical diseases, especially in Africa, and feels the Cuban situation would be unique if it does turn out to be a disease. If it is an infectious disease, that would be resolved relatively quickly once Western governments decide to focus on the problem. Disease spread by non-human contact, such as viruses or parasites carried by animals. For instance, hantavirus is spread by the deer mouse, Art said. This would make it difficult to identify by examining patients only after they return to Canada. Alright guys, so those are those articles. I wanted to kind of go through them. The last one was the worst. That's, just everything else that it could be or whatever. And citizens of the world, and I know targeted individuals, we're asking ourselves this: if these countries cared about these people being hurt, well, I mean, us too, why aren't they coming out? The United States knows what this is. Why is it playing out in the mainstream media? Ask yourself that. Why is this, oh, it's a mystery weapon, or it could be a disease or something, when the DOD and the Pentagon know damn well what this was. They may not know who hit the embassy workers with neuro weapons, with directed energy weapons. They don't know if it's China intelligence or whatever. Maybe they do. Maybe they know what signals they work with. and can trace those. You know, we don't know what our military-industrial complex. I'm sure they have defenses for this stuff, and I'm sure they have ways of tracking down a signal or something like that. Maybe they know exactly who did it. But even if the United States knew, like, hey, it was Russian intelligence or Cuban intelligence in Cuba that did that to the embassy workers, they wouldn't come out and say who it was, because they've got their own weapons program that they have to protect. So they let it play out, even when they know what did it. They know it could resolve this situation and keep people safe from this. They want the power of the weapons, the power of the hidden knowledge, you know. So they're not going to come out, and they're going to just let it play out in the public, you know. I think that's a huge thing that we have to look at. And there's something else. There's one more thing, guys, and then I'm going to go ahead and close it out. I even feel a lot more bored. I know you guys, you know, and don't feel bad. I know that I'm a likable guy, but it gets like kind of boring, you know, me just making videos, and it's like, you know, I like Kyle, but yeah, he's, you know, making videos. I try and be kind of fun, but right now my head feels like it's being caved in. What was I gonna say? Crap! I almost had it. I almost had kept my line of thought, and it just like it was like a cord that was running along, and it was. What was I gonna say? I guess I was just gonna say I can't wait to get my live stream back, and hoorah, you know. That's a military term. No, Tawanda. And this stuff, I mean, these stories, man, my mom's 100% now. She doesn't have any percentage of doubt in her mind that this is happening to me. So keep that in mind when talking to your loved ones and your family about the China consulate thing. Show them those 60 Minutes news stories. You don't even have to talk a lot. You just say, that's kind of like what's happening to me. And I think it's research, and I think they research on people like me so that, you know, intelligence agencies can hit other people. You know, you don't even have to get into a complicated thing with them. I did want to show y'all guys before I go, and I guess I need to kind of cut this video a little bit short. I think I cut my memory cut when I said I'm boring, and we just left it at that. I wanted to say that Dave Case's CD is now on SoundCloud. So let me try and look it up. I haven't tried to look it up yet, but just go on SoundCloud. And you should be able to find. I hope it's under Dave Case's CD. Let's see. SoundCloud, but it's on there. Dave Case's CD is on SoundCloud. Let's go ahead and look it up, and that's great. So you can just go on here and get it. You have to actually buy a membership to this. Let's see if I can just find it real quick. Dave Case. Okay, I'll have to look through. I'll show. I heard somebody told me in Nexus chat room that Dave Case did put or somebody put up his CD on SoundCloud. Wow, just wow. Okay, guys, sorry about the memory stuff. Well, I'm not sorry about it. My attackers are hitting me and messing with my short-term memory very badly, and like they're hitting my ooh, it's just really bad. It wasn't that bad earlier tonight. Whatever. I'm just gonna barrel through it. I don't care. I'm gonna get my live stream back up. I really miss you guys. It feels kind of like that makes doing this a lot better. And so I can't imagine what actually doing some roundtables and stuff. I'm kind of excited. If I can remember things, well, that'll be good. I'll have if I do a roundtable with some other guys or some other TI women, they can fill in the blanks for me, right? That's what we're here. We got to fill in the blanks for each other and help each other out. All right, guys, I love y'all. I'm gonna kind of end it there tonight. Please check out that podcast from Next. It was great, just great energy. very positive energy, and just Paul is just so strong. And it was really fun. It was fun to just go and participate in a live stream like that. I guess I haven't been doing. I participated in targeted individuals live streams, but it was really fun. Got my mind off of things, and they got important information out too. All right, guys, I love y'all, and I will definitely see you on the next one. I got to do something here to cure this headache. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one. I love y'all.